What's up, knife freaks, sharpness geeks, and purveyors of stabby goodness? Welcome to the Knife Freak Show. My name is Jonathan McNees, joined by my co-host, Miss Amy McNees.
What's up, guys?
All right, guys. Sorry we skipped a week last week. We were both sick with some kind of crud, a cold, and that was the main reason that we weren't able to get it done. So I apologize. And also, I need to go back and correct it, but the video on YouTube, the last one that we posted, I actually posted it on our personal, or not our personal, but on the McNees Knives YouTube page instead of the Knife Freak Show page. So I'll try to go back and get it reposted on the Knife Freak Show too, but I think most of you managed to find it on the McNees Knives page. So appreciate you chasing us down even when we don't make it easy. So, all right, what do you think we want to talk about today?
Well, a comment that we had was that they wanted you to talk about customs. So I have lots of customs. So I dug out all these good customs for us to go through, and you can kind of tell us the history and why you designed it the way you did, and if you think we'll see it again in the future.
Fair enough. Yep. So we can't even make it through the full list. We'll see. And I definitely do not have everything by a long shot out of all the different models that I made. We've got a small sampling of some stuff. Some of it's actually kind of random, one-off kind of stuff that she's got. But we do have some of it. And, what I'm going to try to do is after this, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to start posting some stuff like in my story on Instagram of some of the older stuff, and so that you guys can kind of follow along there and see some of the stuff that we were talking about on the show today. So, I guess start all the way back.
With little.
Well, I was thinking maybe we do it kind of chronological. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
All right. So one of the first models that I did was I started off, and I think a lot of guys when they first start off knife making, hand making stuff, they start off like with a little kiradashi style knife, and This wasn't technically my first knife by any means, but it was one of the first kind of designs that stuck a little bit. We called it the Devil's Toothpick. So the one I've got here this is actually one I made just a few years ago. And most of the time I used to make them they had handles on them. This was a skeletonized version, but it gives you an idea of what the model looked like. The idea behind it was to have a short blade like a kiradashi, but then enough handle so that you had enough length. So if you needed to penetrate something a little deeper, you could. So, no jokes. Keep it clean, guys.
Or make a tray.
Yeah. Yep. Basically, it's essentially like a scalpel. Seen a lot of, like I said, this is pretty similar, pretty common kiradashi-ish type things, scalpel type things are actually pretty common for people to do. I've seen several other people do things pretty similar. So that as far as first knives that I sold many of, that was probably one of the best sellers early on. I think on the Jersey Devil Knife Forum was the first place I ever sold one. That may have actually been the first place I ever sold a knife, period. So that was always a cool one to me. I wouldn't mind that one maybe coming back. We'll see if we could figure out the manufacturing process to the way I would want to do it. So another one that I think may have kind of technically been like my first design, and this is an awful representation of it, but this is also this is a very, very early. It's super all rusted up and everything, but I had one that's called the Muck. It was just a basic McNees utility knife. Now this one, you can see like it came to a corner here instead of having a radius little choil there. That was soon corrected. I think actually I did this one before I even had like a small wheel grinder where I could get in there and grind that radius, and that's why it ended up kind of coming to a sharp corner like that. So that's probably about the oldest representation I have of. I think I've got one other somewhere it looks kind of similar to this, even rougher. I don't think it has handles, and I don't think it was even made out of heat treatable steel. I think it was made out of mild steel because at the time I didn't even know the difference. So, but yeah, the Muck, I don't have it was actually a pretty cool design, the more refined version of it. I don't have a version of it anymore, I don't think. So that'll be one we'll have to just post some pictures up later and check out. So, what else did you just pull out there? That was probably one of the more popular. That's the PSK, so personal survival knife. And this was the knife when we did it I always made it in a neck sheath. And I made them as a kit. we don't have one with the full kit, but it had all kinds of survival stuff on it. Again, I'll try to post a picture. You can look it up. If you look up McNees PSK, you'll see it. It made it into several magazines. We had several dealers that carried them. We did some collabs with Triple Alt Design with it. It was a really cool design. Did really well.
And that one's got Hamon on it.
Yeah, that's right. That one was out of, I think, 1095. It had the Hamon. I did a lot of that stuff then. So that one was pretty cool. Is that another version of it right there? Or is that something different?
A little bit bigger.
It's more or less the same. Yeah, just pink. the handmade. Yeah, I made her one with pink handles. It's got. I don't know if it had the. Yeah, it's got a Hamon. It just doesn't pop as good as the other one does. So yeah, that one was pretty cool. Let's see what else on the. I made myself a list because I knew I'd never remember them all. The other three on the list I don't have the examples of here, but I made one that was called the Macabre. It was like a kind of a fighting knife. It didn't have a guard, but it was kind of like a fighting knife style. It was a bigger. It did pretty well. I always liked making those. I did a lot of them with Hamons and stuff at that time. Did one called we just called it the chopper. It was a big chopping knife. I don't remember how big it was, but it was like lengthwise.
Like maybe.
Actually, I think I've got one somewhere. I just didn't find it in time for us to do this. So, but yeah, again, you can look those up, and we'll post some pictures of them. The ones I'm most proud of, those are some that had some really cool Hamons and stuff on them. The early ones, I made the handles were a little less rounded and stuff, and weren't quite as comfortable. As I evolved as a knife maker, I got where I rounded the handles more and stuff, and got a little fancier with them. Yeah, that knife was actually the one that kind of prompted me to switch from my Franken grinder that you may have heard me talk about building, my homemade deal that I ground a bunch of stuff on, and I started grinding those choppers, and that one just didn't have enough power to grind them. Like, it would constantly bog the motor down. So I ended up pulling the trigger on a KMG and bought a real grinder. So yeah, that one was pretty cool. That's a random one. Well, I don't know if it was a one-off, but it was probably, I don't think I made more than 2 or 3. It was just like a little straight, like fixed blade straight razor. I love straight razors, and so I made a couple of those somewhere along the way, and you ended up with one of them.
The logo has evolved so many times.
Yeah,
through the years.
That was actually a very early one with that logo. Yeah, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, probably not on the camera here, but it's got it's like a J and an M. You're not going to move it. It's not going to focus for me. But anyway, completely different logo. That was before I came up with
that one you had
skeleton sound.
Both of those are just J McNees.
Yeah. For a while I did just my name, just J McNees on there. So there's another little Kiradashi. I don't remember. I made a handful of those, I think. It was never really like a full-blown named model, I don't think. I think we just
holes.
Sold them as, I did lots of speed holes back in the day. Most everything had speed holes. It seemed like it was skeletonized or on folders. I did lots of speed holes. So another fixed blade that I did that I liked a lot was called the Rigid Raider, which was named after the boat that I drove in the Marine Corps, but it was another fighting knife. I liked it a little more refined looking to me than the Macabre. It had a little bit of a guard on it, and that's one I would love to see come back. That was a cool knife. We've done some as recently, actually, since we moved in this shop. Early when we moved in this shop, when I was still making a few handmade fixed blades. Now, I know there was definitely more like random one-off fixed blades and stuff. I tried to stick to the list mostly of the ones that we, were kind of like models that we did multiples of. So, but several other random ones, and probably 1 or 2 that I forgot. I had to go back through. I searched back through my pictures, guys, on these in my phone and I think my pictures only go back to like 2010. So I had a couple of years in there before I had an iPhone that had the pictures that I don't know that at some point I had pictures of some of them, but who knows? They were posted on forum at some point, like on the USN and Jersey Devil, but I'm assuming those are probably long gone now. So I don't know if there's even any record of them, but there's still some floating around out there. Every now and then somebody will send me a picture of something that I've long forgotten about. It's pretty cool. So I guess then moving into folders.
So what year did you start making folders?
Folders? I'm so awful at timelines. I honestly don't know. I want to say it was probably around 2009. The first one
sounds about right because I think you made the McBee in around 2011.
I think that's about right.
So,
yeah. The first folder, like the first actual like model, and this is actually the first one. This is the prototype. This was the prototype FMUC. Now they changed a good bit. They got a lot more refined. You can see this one's got it's got like rock texture on the G10, but it's a liner lock. But it had very chunky flat slab handles. As I got better at my craft, I used like thicker material, and I would do them frame locks, and I would do fully contoured, a lot like the current production Dixons. They were very heavily contoured like that. Again, there's lots of pictures out there floating around the internet of them, and I'll try to post some. This one I did lots of Hamones on these. One thing you may notice on this is if you look at my designs now and the blade to handle ratio that I'm so picky about and proud of having, very close as I can get to 1-to-1 blade to handle ratio, this one was definitely an exception. It was the other way around. And what I basically did was take that muck, that fixed blade that I was talking about, and turn it into folding McNees utility knife. So I wanted to just take that design and turn it into a folder. And at the time, I haven't revisited it to see if I could do anything different as far as the blade to handle ratio, but at the time, at least with the skills that I had, that was what I came up with. So, and Lord, we sold a bunch of these over the years. That was
probably the most popular.
Probably. This one's not a great example because, like I said, this was the very first one, and it was on washers just before I started even doing bearings, and it's, the action on it's not great. But man, once I kind of got the hang of them and got some of that stuff figured out, those things would lock open. It was like a chunk, sound like a bank vault opening or closing, locking shut. Is like people love the sound of them, as I did too. It was really cool. Talk about acoustics. Those sound like the real deal when you open and close those suckers.
Do we not have a Dixon?
Yeah, I at the house. I forgot to bring it. We'll have to post pictures of it later. Yeah, we had an early Dixon. Some of you guys may have already seen some of that because I posted some leading up to coming out with the production Dixon. I know I posted a few pictures of some of the older ones, so there's tons of pictures of those out there as well. If you go search through for McNees Dixon, I'm sure there's lots of the new ones in there now too, but it's not that hard to find the older ones. I think one of the next ones after that, actually the Dixon probably was next, I think, right after the FMUC.
So too.
When I got I got licensed to use the spider hole, which was a big milestone for me. I was super proud. They have to you have to send them pictures of your work, and they have to okay you that you're an okay enough maker to use their opening mechanism on your knife. So that was like a feather in my cap at the time, and I'm still proud of it. So it was really cool, and I kind of designed the Dixon around the spidey hole. So I got licensed to use it. I wanted to use it on a knife, so the blade shape and everything was I kind of started with the hole and worked around it, and that's how the Dixon came about. So, and then closely followed up pretty soon after with the Killer Bee. I think I got on a roll with the spider hole and did a couple in a row with it. So I'd done the big stuff. The Dixon wasn't huge. The FMUC was really big, but then I decided I wanted to make something as small as I could, and
two very different.
Yeah, that's quite the comparison there. But the full story on that is, at the time, I made a knife every year for our kids on their birthday, and I wanted to make one. Hannah was 11, I think, when I designed that one for her. So that was her. I designed that one specifically to have her something small and dainty that she could use, and basically kind of a test to see how small I could actually make a working, functional folder that would actually still be useful and stuff. So, and I would have to say it has stood the test of time. I'm extremely proud of that. You guys know it now as the McBee, the Spyderco version, but the Killer Bee it's crazy because it was pretty popular or whatever, and then it seemed like it kind of at one point I know I considered not stopping it, discontinuing it. And then it's it took off again, and then when Spyderco picked it up, and now it's we've sold several Spydercos just in the last of the McBees in the last week off the website. They're still going strong.
Well, we've been doing it so long. We went from everybody wanted the big chunky knife to then everybody wanted the tiny little knife to
right. The trends changed. We kind of got in on the front end of the small knife trend with the McBee, and we were kind of on the tail end of the big chunky knives with the F muck and stuff. So yeah, I think we've seen the trending now, and also like that back when I first came out with the F muck guys, like this is what like very much was in. I mean, obviously not everybody was making stuff like this, but I know it's steered more now towards like thinner, uh, gentleman kind of folders and everything. Like I was honestly shocked when we came out with the Mac 2 and people thought that was like a super chunky knife or whatever, like a really like. I was like, wow, this is like thinner blade stock than I would normally use on the customs. Like I thought I thinned it down because we were so used to the big chunky stuff like this from back in the day. So I had made some thinner stuff here and there, but yeah, it's kind of weird. I guess just where I was at, where the trends were when I got into making knives, it kind of stuck with me. That and the fact that like we may talk about this more in another episode, kind of dig into some more design stuff, but like I'm not a gentle person. Like I'm
That's the understatement of a lifetime.
I'm rough. I'm rough on things. I'm rough on gear. I'm rough on everything. And so I build knives to, the way I need them to be built to hold up to that. That's, so that explains a lot about my designs and the choices I make as far as the thickness, the size, and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so yeah, that trend kind of is come and gone. I think it's kind of trended back.
Continued
the small, yeah, with the tracker jacker.
The tracker jacker.
Yep.
Which was a flipper.
Yep, it was a little flipper, a little flipper. Probably got to be one of the smallest flippers out there, I would say. There's been a couple of people come out with some kind of close in that size range and stuff since then, and there may have been something similar in size that was a flipper at the time, but it was definitely one of, if not the smallest, functioning flipper out there at the time. And this was one that really helped me refine my detents and stuff, because with a blade this size, if you don't get the detent right for a flipper, like you can't depend on the weight of the blade to just snap it out there and stuff, and you don't have a lot of real estate to hold on to get a like big flick like the light switch thing. So like that's where I learned to make the detents so that they built up pressure as you apply pressure to the tab, and then when it finally breaks loose, then you've got good full deployment of the blade. So tracker jacker was one of the places where I kind of honed my skills on my detents, and still similar to the way we do them today. So yeah, like these are really cool.
When we ended up with some larger tracker jackers by accident, correct?
That's a topic we need to talk about, the happy little accidents. That needs to be a full podcast probably, because we've had a lot of that over the years. I sent parts to the water jet to get cut, and I was very new at doing any kind of CAD drawing and stuff, and I had the CAD drawing dimensioned wrong or in the wrong. I don't remember actually exactly what I did. I don't know if I had it in like millimeters and the guy was cutting it in inches, something. I screwed something up, and they came back like almost twice the size that they were supposed to be. And there's probably still some of those parts around here somewhere.
There are.
Yeah, I think there are some somewhere. But we worked through quite a few of them by just making essentially a larger model of it. We made lemonade out of the lemons, and just like, okay, we'll just do a bigger version of it. So it was close to twice that size, I think. So that's a mistake that we've made the best of. But I really like these. And these, speaking of things that we might see down the road, she and I were talking about this just the other day. I would love to do something like a little tracker jacker. The problem is most people, when it comes to pricing, they equate size to price, and that's not really always the case. There's some. Obviously, you save a little bit of money on materials, but that's actually a pretty small part of what goes into a knife as far as the cost of making a knife. And then it being smaller, there's a little less machining time for the most part, because obviously there's not as much material to remove. But you also have to have much tighter tolerances. Like there's not as much room for mistakes. Like there's not a lot of real estate there. So I don't know that we could sell them for enough to justify. I don't know that there would be enough profit margin there for what people would be willing to pay for.
You guys see all the detail in that.
Camera's not focusing totally, but
lots of detail.
Yeah. So if you guys see me looking over here to the side trying to see if it's spoken, it's because I've got the computer screen over here. I'm not just trying to be weird. But yeah, Tracker Jacker, that was definitely one of my favorites. And the name came from what was the movie that was that popular at the time? The Hunger Games. Yeah, they had those fake hornets or whatever they call the Tracker Jackers, and I thought that was a cool name. And her and Hannah especially were really into the Hunger Game movies at the time, so that one became the Tracker Jacker. Let's see. I think the Skybolt was probably one of the next up, and I think this is actually the prototype of it right here. I'm pretty sure this was the prototype, if I remember right.
Followed by
the Baby Bolt, smaller version of it. Yep. And this one, they got another one. The tab was a little extra long. The tab got, you can see on this second one, maybe you can see the tab. I shortened it up. I don't like a big long flipper tab, but this was my first attempt at one of these. It actually may have been my first flipper, I think, because this I'm pretty sure came before the Tracker Jacker. So it's a big knife, but it's sleek. It's kind of thin this way, not real tall, and it's fully contoured and a lot like the current Dixons. And it's kind of a long, slender blade, and they carry really well. Man, they are a lot of fun as a flipper. They're always really snappy and everything. Just kind of got a sleek design to them.
When you made mine, you made it a lot thinner.
Yes, that particular one was
much more dainty.
Yeah, that was something else too. Like when I made customs, I kind of had like general thicknesses and stuff of material that I would use, but it wasn't necessarily like locked in and all the same. Like I made some F-Mucks that had thinner blade stock than others. Same thing with nearly every model. Like some of it depending on what material I could get at the time, or if I had some that I needed to use up or whatever. And that's one that was actually really probably one of the last Skybolts that I made. I got it on a kick where I wanted to do some custom carving. That may be a bit much for you. There you go. And that one had a compound grind. I forgot about that. I did not super frequently, but I did fairly often. I would do compound grinds on those. Kind of went through a phase there, but yeah, I liked the carving on these a lot. This one was hopefully obviously it alligator skin. It's got green anode. It's got on the back. It's kind of like almost like an orange peel. I was planning on it being like similar to the underbelly of an alligator, and on this side, obviously like the back, and had the clips carved and everything. So maybe I can get actually, I think we have professional pictures made of this. If I can find it, we'll post it up and see, because it's hard to see the details on here. But
that's also acid wash blade, isn't it?
Yeah, as an acid wash blade. Yeah. Yeah. Did a good bit of that back in the day too, which was way easier to do when you're doing,
that clock.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Again, talking about those acoustics. So yeah, did a lot more acid wash stuff back in the day. It's a lot different when you're doing a handful of blades versus trying to do it at a production level and deal with all that. So did a good bit more of that then. Let me see at the list here, because I know we've missed. I think I don't remember the timeline for sure, but the Sodbuster was in there somewhere. So I love the Sodbuster pattern of the slip joint, and so I made a few different versions of it. Actually, I made it a front flipper, and then we did some with thumb studs, and I guess that was kind of it. But it evolves. Well, the very first ones I did looked more like a slip joint, and I don't think then they basically had a nail nick. They were a frame lock, but you opened them like a slip joint. I think the very first few that I did like that, and then I turned it into a front flipper, and somewhere in there we did some with thumb studs as well. So that one's a pretty cool. The later ones I did, it as usual with most of my designs and stuff, they, at least especially back then, like they got more refined over time. Like the first few Sodbusters I made, like, are embarrassing. Like they look pretty rough, but then over time, making more of them, they got more refined, and they actually became one of the ones that I really like. That's one that I feel like has a high likelihood of potentially making it into the production lineup. We'll post some pictures up, and you guys can let us know what you think, if that's something that we need to do. But I really liked it personally. So another one is the Tangent, and that was actually a pretty big one. Like that sold a lot of Tangents. They were popular there for a while. She's got one of the fancier ones that I ever made. It's got the I think that was that lightning strike carbon fiber, with the silver in it, blade, and it's got hers has a Damascus blade, thumb stud opener. Just a small, sleek, and you can see with these, I was starting to get more into the blade to handle ratio and stuff was starting to get a little more like what you see me doing now. This one I liked a lot. This is one that could potentially also make it in the lineup without really a whole lot of changes, maybe a little bit, because it's just like it is with some of my designs now, packing that much blade into that handle and making it sit in the closed position the way I wanted it to be nice and sleek. It didn't leave a lot of room for the blade to be in there without hitting the standoffs, and a lot of times the blade shape out here, I would have to take it a little thinner than I kind of wanted to, but that's something that I'm going to probably play with and see what I can do to maybe update it a little bit, because I really liked the Tangent. We did really well with it. We sold a bunch of those, so lots of different versions out there, from just plain frame locks to bolstered ones like that. I think that one's actually, I don't know if that's titanium or Zerk.
I think it's Zerk.
I think it is too. I'm pretty sure that's a Zerk.
Pretty sure it's Zerk.
Zerk bolster, and then it's got is it a carbon fiber pivot collar on the other side, just on the show side? Yeah, it's got a carbon fiber pivot
My little
collar.
titanium heart.
Oh yeah, made her a little custom made titanium heart lanyard bead thing to hang off of there. So, yep, that one was pretty cool. There's a couple more that I don't have out here, and do have some pictures of them. There's one called the Ankylos, which, to be honest with you, in retrospect, well, at the time even, like I kind of liked it at first, but I never got it to look and the way I like it. It's something about it always bugged me, like just the lines of it or something. And so I never fell in love with that one, and without some major refinements, I don't see it coming back. It was a very straight knife, like the handles were very straight and kind of squared off. Not really my cup of tea. I think if I remember right on that one, I was intentionally trying to push myself outside of my normal design language. Like I was like, okay, most of my stuff is curvy, more organic looking. Let's do something that's a little more angular or whatever. And then I think if I remember right, I followed that up with the one I called the MILF, the MLF, but mean little dude. So it was also very instead of being straight, it was very angular, like the handle kind of turned down. It had a recurved blade and it was actually a recurved tanto. Pretty cool looking. Probably not anything we're going to tackle on a production level anytime soon, because the tanto is enough trouble as far as the sharpening and having two edges to deal with. But then you add a recurve in there too, and the sharpening really becomes a nightmare. So maybe with some tweaks down the road somewhere, but that one scares me a little bit for production, just because of knowing how difficult it would be. Let's see what else I had on the list. Had another pretty small one that was called the Micro Hawk. We don't have any. I don't think either one of us have one of those.
No, but I've seen.
There's some people out there. Yeah. I've seen people recently post some of those that they have or whatever. So it was one that it had thumb studs, but you could open it as a front flipper. And it had dual thumb studs, so you could like reverse flick it if you were really good, and you could open it as a front flipper, or you could just open it normal with the thumb studs. It was pretty cool. It was also a recurve, so it kind of falls into the category with that other one. It's probably not going to make a return anytime soon, not in its current design anyway. So, but it was cool. It was a little bigger. It was bigger than the Tracker Jacker. It wasn't that small. Maybe probably less than twice the size of the Tracker Jacker. I don't remember the blade length. Yeah, somewhere between like the Tangent and the Tracker Jacker. So another one that I was always really, and again, I don't have one, but one I called the Bone Daddy. So the story on it was, I did back in the day on the USN forums, the guys down in the Steel Dust Junkies, which was like the hangout for the knife makers and stuff, like they would run for a couple of years in a row. They did these maker build offs where you could like challenge another maker or whatever, and get together, and then you I believe it was like 7 days, or it may have been 5 days, I can't remember. It was a set number of days, and you had to document everything and do timestamps. And I think at the time, I don't even know if you could upload videos, at least not very easily on there then. So it was mostly like pictures with timestamps and stuff, and just showing the progress of your work. So it was really cool. Me and a buddy of mine, paired up and challenged each other, whatever, and we did a build off, and I made the one for that. It was called the Bone Daddy. Really cool. It's kind of hard to describe. The handles were basically made to resemble like a bone, and the way the curves and stuff were. And then, yeah, you might be able to pull a picture up and do it. But oh yeah. Well, that's not the original one. It changed some. I did some after that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to see. Again, we're going to post some of this stuff, so be watching our Instagram and stuff for the next couple of weeks. We'll follow up with some of that so you guys can see what we're talking about. But yeah, the first one had a recurve blade. It was and a tanto. You see a theme going here, huh? What I like. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Won the build off with it, which was not. I mean, it's just bragging rights. It's not like there was anything to it, but it was pretty cool. I actually did a fixed blade version of it too. One singular that had an actual like fitted guard. The whole works. Carbon fiber handles. That's honestly one of the coolest knives fixed blades that I think I ever made. Like it was kind of wild and crazy, but probably one of my favorite ones that I've ever made. So it was pretty cool. Let's see. I got to refer back to my list. We're getting close to the PM1, guys, which was basically the precursor to the Mac 2. So this was, I don't know, a year to 2 years before we kind of started down the production road. This was kind of me dipping my toe in it. This was probably close to what, at least back then, would have been a description of a true like mid-tech. So I did not have the capability to, mill. I didn't have CNC or anything back then. So I had somebody cut out and mill the handles and everything for me. So they were fully machined for me. The blades were machined and stuff, but they were not ground, and of course they weren't fit up to the handles. So I would hand grind the blades, fit the detents, fit the locks, do all the finishing work on the blade and the handles. I think the clips were like water jet cut, and then I bent them by hand or whatever. Yeah, they're just kind of a normal bent clip. And I think that was a batch of 50. I think we did right at 50 of them, and that was it. It was basically a one run.
It's a pretty heavy, chunky knife too.
Yep, it's pretty heavy and chunky, and
but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I like it too, and that's one that would potentially some small tweaks could. You can definitely see some heritage there between it and maybe the Mac 2 and stuff, but it's different enough, and it's a flipper, so that's something that might make an appearance. We shall see, but I liked it, and they did pretty well. But like I said, we only ever made that 50 of them, so they didn't have a chance to get out there too much. But yeah, I thought those were pretty cool. Yeah, and that one had a backspacer. I think I put backspacers in all of them, if I remember right. So yeah, that was kind of the very beginning of dipping my toe in the water of trying to go the production route. So yeah, those are pretty cool. Let's see. We've got the retainer. Some of you guys, we sold those as recently as a couple of years ago. Don't know if we're going to do any more of those going forward or not. Again, they're recurved. They're kind of a pain to sharpen and that kind of stuff. We'll see. If we had enough demand for them, we could probably bring them back. But they were pretty challenging. Great little self-defense knife, though. Fantastic. You can go to YouTube and watch some of the videos I posted back several years ago with doing some testing and kind of explaining how those were meant to be used and stuff. Wicked little self-defense knives. Had a few other random fixed blades here and there. We had one that was actually kind of, once we started into the production stuff, is when Chase had already started. I think we may or may not have been actually started on the Mac 2s yet, but we did a little fixed blade that we just called the drop point. It was just a simple little skeletonized drop point fixed blade, and we had some leather sheaths for them, but they were hand ground. I mean, technically, honestly, they were really custom. I mean, they were water jet cut, and then they were hand ground and hand finished and stuff, and then we had somebody make leather sheaths for us. So, and a few other random ones here and there stuck in there, but that's, I think, most of the actual models that kind of stuck and, stayed around for a little while and stuff.
So back in the day when I still made them.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, that's one of the, so at one point, guys, Amy was making me Velcro pouches. We'd buy this material, and she would sit down and sew them up. And what was really impressive is, like, she didn't, like, sew and stuff before that. Like, she was not you know, that wasn't like one of her hobbies or whatever. She just knew that we needed a solution for something to put the knives in and stuff, and she sat down and figured it out. She did it for a good little while until it kind of got to be a little too overwhelming. So, yeah, those are really cool. That's another nice little piece of history there. But yeah, so what I'd like to do, guys, is out of this, you know, you guys can go look and kind of check some of this stuff out if any of them looked interesting to you, and we'll be posting some pictures. And let us know which ones you like and which ones you think you might want to see making in the production lineup, because that's really like awesome for us to not just have to guess at what you guys are going to like. But, you know, if we get good feedback on specific ones, we might be able to do, you know, probably nearly everything that we've done in the past would get some sort of slight tweaks and upgrades, partly just to be able to manufacture it the way that we're currently operating. But I'd love to get some feedback on what you guys would like to see, which one of these older models you like, or if you don't like any of them, you just want to see something brand new, that's fine too. So, all right, well, we are recording this on Friday afternoon, and it's almost time to do our drop for our 3-inch frags. So we're going to hop off of here, go drop those. Hope you guys scoop them up and love them. We appreciate you. Please follow us, like our videos, give us reviews. We really appreciate it. Very soon we're going to have another guest. Share it, please. Very soon we're going to have another guest or two on here, so be looking for that. We greatly appreciate you. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah.